Good morning, good evening, good everything. 3 people on board right we go ahead and here. That's pretty good since I didn't put the notification up until this morning. But hey guys, welcome back to the Automotive Podcast, where it is the original crew flying solo this evening, as Sean
without
has
a net.
prior engagements this morning. I heard this evening. So this morning to me, folks, I work night shifts, so to me this is shank of the morning. We up front, for the folks that follow us every week, and we do appreciate it, we will not be here on the next scheduled podcast on the 15th. Sean again is busy with his thing, and then I will be leaving for Wisconsin for IPMS Nats, and so we can't leave him to just talk to himself. So we're going to skip that episode. And then we will be back on I believe it's the 29th. Yeah. It's the last Monday of the month. And Sean will be back. We'll have be at full strength. And I'm sure I'll be all chitty chatty about, what drove to Wisconsin and saw airplanes. And, yeah, exactly. So that'll be that. I guess that's pretty much it going up front. Mr. Chester, how things been for you the last couple of weeks?
You know, I've actually been doing really good. I've been working on the PZY SP3. How about that? PZY SP3 XYZ PDQ. But anyways, so I painted the body white, put it in clear, did the decals, did the carbon. Like everything is painted, and now it's time to assemble it. So I've been kind of test fitting it along the way, and I think everything's going to work just fine. But who knows? Who knows? I think one monkey wrench away from finishing it.
I have to say, being that I have mine, I've had mine for a little while now. That I've tried to talk to Paul Bretlin over at International Scale Modeler, because he's got his review samples finally on the way. I was telling him, it's like 12 little baggies of stuff. A lot of us, if we've shown you, if you watch James's reviews, you've seen the reviews of these things. They come in little Ziploc baggies full of parts. And that thing was like 12 baggies full of parts. It has to have more parts than any of these kits that I've come across so far. And I have most of the Alpha stuff and most of the PZY stuff. And at least for me, none of it was organized. It's like the Alpha stuff, it's a lot of parts, and you can say a lot or a little about the instructions that they give you. It's just like a CAD drawing, and it's like YOLO, best of luck with figuring out how that all goes together. Especially when it comes to like putting the interior together. Does the dashboard go in first? Do the door panels go in the car? Do they attach to the interior? Like, how's that all work to fit it together? But at least everything makes sense. I had, there's 4 brake calipers, obviously, and each one of those brake calipers was in a separate bag. And now that you're getting into assembly, man, there are a lot of things shaped like the end of hockey sticks in that kit.
Yes.
And they're all more or less the same shape and size. They're keyed differently on the back as to where they go, but like,
oh no, they're not.
You don't know a lot about this. If you don't know a lot about this car and how it looks, man,
I've been relying on scale model Chris for the pictures that he built his car to kind of look at it and say, where does that piece go? Oh, there it goes. And then study the instructions, and it's a bear. And I hope that when I put my video together and show the pieces and where they go, that it'll be helpful for anybody building it. All 200 people that buy the kit.
Well, I say then there'll be another one, because Alpha is doing their version. And that,
right.
When that actually shows up, when it shows up, because it was supposed to be out this last week, and now it's the 5th of July, and I don't know. I got a whole song and dance because I have a few things on order over there, and they keep telling me it's too hot for Chinese customs to work, and
that's strange.
I don't know what that means. It's the for anyone who doesn't know, the mail's not air conditioned. Like, it goes in trucks, and trucks aren't. It doesn't go in reefer units, right? It just goes in regular trucks. So I don't understand what the temperature has to do with processing the mail. It's not an excuse the United States would use for anything.
They would try.
It was for most people who live like anywhere other than like LA, it was really, really hot last week, and the mail still showed up. So I don't know. Apparently, customs doesn't have air conditioning, or more than likely they don't have the stuff done yet, and so that was their excuse du jour as to why they weren't shipping it. But
Blame
I
it
don't
on the
know.
post office, right?
I do know that I have some hobby design stuff, which of course the same company as Alpha Models, coming that I ordered through Hobby Easy, which for anybody who doesn't know is a actual hobby shop in Hong Kong that also does online sales. And I had to wait a couple of days to get stuff because they don't stock everything in stock. Stuff like that, they order it in country as people order it, and that stuff should be here tomorrow or maybe Wednesday because it left Queens this morning. So how long the truck takes to get here from New York City? And it's like, well, it's not too hot for internal Japanese or internal Chinese customs store clearly because it's the same stuff. Because like I ordered that they did a P set for the Hasegawa 300ZX for like the Z32, the new one, and then
That's
they
a new
did
one, right?
yeah, and they did another. I know you didn't like it because it was a 3D printed front end to it. But I bought it anyway. That trans kit for the Tamiya 86. That's brand new stuff. Like it's like just released, but they didn't have a problem getting hold of it. So why can't I have this? Like I ordered a Ferrari SP2, which is the other. What is this Ferrari? It's like a prototype supercar line. This SP1, SP2, SP3 that they've been doing, and like
Right.
that came out for a while. It's existed for 6 months or so. Like it's in stock clearly, so ship it to me. You know,
Yeah, comparing those two kits, the SP2 to the SP3, I was like, psh, I could knock this one out in like a week. It's like 65 parts, but the PZY is about 132 resin pieces, 4 sheets of PE, 3 sheets of decals. Yeah, it's something else, man.
yeah, I that's I don't necessarily believe into I'm stuttering here, but I was trying to coherently way to put this. Is there the old shtick of like I'll build that when I'm good enough for it? That might be one of those. I want to get a couple of things of these alpha kits done before I whale in thing because that's definitely above my pay grade at the moment. I'll admit to that.
Yeah, you'd be all right.
I did buy. That's it. I did buy that Pearl Ferrari. I mean, it's not gonna show up on camera, I know, but I got from Pro Scale. I got that pearl white for that. Because I know you did yours in pearl white, and like I ordered that paint like right when we ordered ours, and I was like, oh yeah, that'd be great. And then you painted yours pearl white, so on the fact that it looked the same, but yeah, it's like James,
That's
what are you doing
right.
to me? I might paint
That's
the SP2 in the white instead.
There you go.
Because I think that's another one with that big stripe that goes across the front that looks good. In the comments I saw Lewis pop up with wish that Alpha would let him know or let us know when that Porsche is coming. So if Alpha's going to do a Porsche 911 GT3R, which is the racing version of the 911, the current GT3 car. I don't know, Lewis. They said like the middle of next month or middle of July, which we're like around the corner to now. And they've been like in their online post on Facebook today have been like starting to pimp it a little bit like hey we're going to be releasing this, don't be ready to vote on your favorite decal scheme. And that I'm hoping that as a race car guy, I hope that doesn't turn into a crap show because a lot of people were suggesting a lot of things. I'm not going to sit here and go any of it was bad, but a lot of it was not currently used liveries on what they're doing, which is a brand new car. It's like, yeah, that's cool, but that's 7 years old and 3 body styles ago. Like, no, please don't make my $180 resin kit have decals from 2015. I don't know, please.
and Wenben Miniature Decals already did those decals, so hopefully they'll do something new.
I think they're stuck on. They said they're going to do Rexy, which is that green Tyrannosaurus Rex thing. Or they said they're going to do Roxy, which is the pink version of the same thing.
Oh, okay.
You know, relatively speaking, is just tinting those same decal scheme a different color to match the pink.
Right.
Which is great because that's two colors of paint that don't technically exist in real life because they're wraps. So like what color code is that? I don't know. It's a vinyl wrap. It's not paint.
Pink?
So yeah, say get something close and YOLO. I hope. Like there was a Porsche 911 won the class at Le Mans and at Nuremberg. Like there's options to do that aren't old. So I hope.
Hopefully they find something exciting.
Yeah, I know that my idea of exciting, winning cars, and people's ideas of exciting, really cool graphic liveries are two different things. Like I this is a conversation that James and I have had a number of times where it's like, oh, that's a cool livery. Yeah, but the race cars suck. These Z4s.
Yeah, it's a cool livery.
Talking about like these GSR cars, like, or they're not actually good small racing cars. These Miku cars, like they're awesome to look at. They're wild. They're crazy. But boy, did that team stink on ice those first 2 years. Like I really appreciate that Wenbin put into the new one, the 2009 car, like 3 different liveries technically to do all 3 of the first rounds of that car raced. But those 3 rounds were a DNF, a did not qualify, and another DNF. This car is awful. Looks great.
But it still looks good.
It looks great. Couldn't even get it on the track once, but it looks great. Kevin Smith in the comments said pay grade. Now we're getting paid. Yes. Didn't you know? Did you not get your check? Oh, sorry.
Oh, you didn't get paid yet, Kevin?
Scale effect saying, I say that about when I guess right. I could show these. Maybe. There we go. No, it's 119 this week. That's not the one I wanted. Yes, it's very, very hot. But where did the comment to go that was must have jumped? He said in here that like that's what I say about all my collection is when I get good enough.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Maybe when I'm good. There it is. Maybe when I'm good. It's that concept is like, okay, maybe when I'm good. When's that going to be? After I build a bunch of crappy stuff instead? Because like that's not going to go the way the good thing will. So just build the good thing. It's the only way you're going to get to it. So
that's a couple good ones. That's all you need to do.
That's right. It's a matter of just holding your nose, realizing it's just plastic. Hopefully, it's not something you cannot get. I mean, you might want to wait on that one, the one that you can't replace. But most of the stuff, it's you find another one for another $40 and hold your nose.
James, do you have pictures that I sent you of my mishap?
Oh, I didn't know if you wanted to discuss that or not.
That's okay. So I was doing a scale model experiment, and I put Mr. Hobby leveling thinner in 2K clear. Level it out. Makes all sense in the world. Levels everything else out. You can put it in acrylic. You can put it in enamel. You can put it in lacquer. You certainly can't put it in 2K. How do I know that? Because I painted it a month ago, and sometime in the past month, the clear coat shrank. 2K clear shrank, and it took the decals with it. So now it's a lumpy mess, and I'm kind of peeved about it, but it is what it is. I don't know if you have a picture, James.
I should say I finally got it up here. Let's see the machinations that one has to do in order to get this to load images.
Yeah, so I'm kind of peeved about that. See along the top of the fender there, just it shrank. That's what happened.
I say it did it on the roof too. Like you get
it certainly did.
It's this whole like it re-cracked these decals, and like I've seen photos of it, and like you had this fixed, like you couldn't tell that these decals had split.
Right. Yep.
And then it's I don't know what this is about. Like that
was polished to a mirror shine too.
Yeah, like you had did you have the body in it at least?
Yes.
Yeah, so like I said, I've seen this in person. I thought I saw this in person. Yeah, I mean, this was ready to go. Assemble it and go on, and it's like it bubbled the decals here and here. Did the roof? Did the hoods got like looks? I mean, this sounds like I'm being picky to James here, but I'm just stating what you guys can't see it. Like it's it pebbled the whole hood and stuff. I've never seen 2K do that, but then we were discussing before we came on air the whole put Mr. Leveling Thinner in it. Yeah, it might have been too much on the thinner part, I guess.
Yeah, I think it was the leveling thinner that did it.
So that's unfortunate, just because that's not a plastic kit. It's easy to fix.
Lewis says urethane reducer. Do a couple light coats over that, and decals may glass it out. Just reducer, Lewis? Really?
I think he's saying put reducer on the decals before you put the gloss down.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll wait for him to say something. Kevin would probably know something too.
that just that broke my heart. I have one. I know the amount of decals that it has and how much work that is, and
excuse me.
Too
late, Lewis.
Going forwards, never do that again.
Going forward, never doing that again.
So, yeah.
James, do we have any kits coming out this month?
We do. I was wanted to load up our background topics here because we can go through some of that stuff too. But unfortunately, I loaded Google Maps instead.
Okay.
Because right now, that's as I plot my trip to Wisconsin, that's the only thing that's on my mind is like looking up map stuff. But yeah, so July releases. Let's pop in here, and I'm just going to sort of plow through these in the order they're in. And did I not transfer the? No, I didn't. All right, well, good to know. So let's do something else instead, because that would make too much sense that I have my stuff ready.
I can talk while you do that.
No, I got it. I've downloaded the images so that I could see them, right? And then I didn't actually put them on the computer because that would have made too much sense.
Okay.
So, that's doing
Ooh.
that's doing that impressive thing. I don't know if I do this. Am I showing just a straight screen? Because now apparently I can't look at this at the same time.
I don't know.
Yeah, it is. It's showing the Auto World store screen. Okay.
So
I can't. I'm gonna have to just talk, and it's gonna just be on screen because I can't look at it at the same time I do like I do with the other thing. But so there's 3 kits coming out of round 2 in July, and they are a reissue, and I believe the literature on this was saying something like it's been 20 plus years, maybe longer, since this was out last. The Ohio George Montgomery Multi Maverick. There's some shtick with this kit that I've never. This is before my time. I will fully admit this kit came before I was even on this earth. But there's some shtick to this where they include chassis parts and fender parts for the body, so this can be built. And I can't make this any bigger, unfortunately. Maybe if I zoom the text in.
There you go.
Yeah, that's the box anyway. But there's a stick with this where the front chassis pieces and the front fenders allow you to build this either as an altered wheelbase or as just a sort of gasser thing. So this world first combination gasser and alter. This is apparently done on the real car where they could swap the front end and the chassis out to put it in different drag classes, and the kit does the same thing. I again admit that this is General Mills NPC, so again it's before I was born, but there's some way in the kit that also exists, that once this is built, you can swap the front end and the chassis to change how the car sits. I fully admit I don't understand how that works.
I don't understand how a dragster has two seats in
it. Well, it's like the Hasegawa Porsche 962C, where they built it off the observation car that allowed them to race, drive the car and have somebody in the observation seat. And now every 962 Porsche has that in it for some reason. But yeah, I assume that I don't know. It's an NPC kit. I don't want to bag on it. Say, oh, it's an NPC kit. It doesn't fit because that's not fair. But I
Right.
am very dubious to the idea that here's a stock wheelbase, gasser class, modified wheelbase, altered class, and like the front, like there's different pieces to this that stretch this chassis out, and the front body stretches out so that it does that. And the real car did that. I understand that. So this must split in the front here somehow. And if there's somebody in the comment that knows what's going on, because like I said, I can't see our broadcast screen right now, but like you can see, there's a whole. This appears to have like a whole body shell in one, and then there's two sets of front fenders here. So I don't understand, but yeah, I will admit my ignorance on that. They're going to reissue the 92 Ford F-150 flare side. Another one of these were annual kits at the time, actually, so they're not really a Mueller era kit so much as just they were annual kits. For people who bought the Ford Lightning, you may recall you got a tiny tailgate in there instead of the full-size tailgate. That's what the tailgate is for. It's for this flare side box. And this was how this tooling was run last prior to like AMT selling out the racing champions and all that. So that's why you got that teeny tailgate, because this is the short wheelbase chassis. And they went, oh, we'll just run it how it is because that's how it's set up. And you got the wrong tailgate in it. But this has a sheet of decals in it where it has most of the F-150 Knight, which is NITE, but not quite all of it. I think there are a couple of the decal guys that if you really wanted to do that trim package, it's got some interesting parts, like what the hell's going on with this supercharger thingy on the roof, on the top of the engine here, because clearly that's not stock. But yeah, I mean, it's cool. I have an original one, so I probably won't buy another one of these. But for folks that are looking for these early 90s Fords, that's coming back. And then the one thing that I actually have sold my old one and I'm looking forward to is this reissue of the 71, they're calling it the Dodge Hemi Charger RT, which is really clunky wording, but this is the 71 Charger, but it's got parts from the custom version, or the Street Machine, I think is what technically it was called, that got released like once or twice back in the 90s and early 2000s. So this kit in this format has never existed before. This has the grabber hood, it has the Stage 5 Hemi in it, and there's something else about this that I can't think of what it is. It's the rear spoiler.
I'm trying to remember. Yeah, I'm trying to remember the custom.
Yeah, we had
parts.
this. And so we had this conversation.
Maybe it's the machine gun tips. I think it's the machine gun
that's
tips.
That's right. It's the exhaust tips. Because like this hood, it was only in the Street Machine version. The exhaust tips were only in the Street Machine version. The Stage 5 Hemi parts were only in the Street Machine version. And thus all the Street Machine version are. They did not include the janky 90s era wheels in here, or a couple of the other weird 90s specific options. So this is a kit that exists but has never existed before. So yeah, air grabber hood, Stage 5 Hemi, Torque Flight 3-speed, dual exhaust system. Yeah, it's Mueller era kit, awesome kit in general. And like I said, I sold my original kit to buy this one because I like that the grabber hood and the Stage 5 option.
I've cut up at least 6 of those. They make great donors for any other B body, 70s B body Mopar. 71, 72, 74, 75, 73. Yeah, I've cut them up. Cut up a lot of them.
So I'm looking for that'll be something I buy. I didn't get the Chevelle Malibu yet. If somebody if Model Empire actually, they're on the vendor list for Nats. They're actually up there and they have one, and it's not some goofy price that is more than the one I would get around here. I might buy that up there, but that's one of the other sort of current round 2 release that I'm interested in.
Right.
I've seen a few people pick them up. I mean, I occasionally do that pan around the room going, oh yeah, because like that's something else you need. But yeah.
1,355.
Yeah, exactly. Salvino's Savina's is in a weird place right now where their decals, I don't know what happened to them. I don't know how much of Rick's protestations I believe in terms of getting his decals from Italy, because Cartograph does all Savino's decals. They have not shipped out the stuff from last month yet because the decals are stuck at Cartograph, whatever that means. Maybe it's too hot for Italian customs to work. And so they haven't shipped that. And so they haven't publicly released what their July stuff is going to be. So technically speaking, because I would be violating the rules of the club, I'm not going to go into that. But there's another Dodge Charger, 70s Dodge Charger will be the vintage kit. And then there's, I believe, I don't know if it's one or two more Camaros, because that's what the world needs is more Camaros. But with the whole nonsense going on with retooling the Mustang and the Camry bodies, now they're saying they're not going to retool the Mustang and the Camry bodies until they know what's going to happen to the cars in 2025 to make sure they don't, get stuck immediately after retool the body a second time. So now they're saying it won't be until like 2025 until we get the 2024 cars. It's going to be a year of Camaros, which happened to them in the first year of the next gen kits, and it's like I'm losing my interest in this at this point. Like, it's how many Camaros can you look at? They're the same kit with different decals, which I know, right? Same kit with different decals, but it's just it's they put a lot of promises out, and then they ended up, for one reason or another, trying to be cheap. Basically, they weren't able to fulfill them, and now you're stuck. So that is what it is. I know Model Roundup said, and I've not seen anything saying that it wouldn't necessarily, but Model Roundup has that Mercury pickup truck conversion. It's not conversion, it's a kit, right? For Mobius right. Coming. So for the folks, especially north of the border, who are interested in their Canadian pickup truck, that should be out at the end of July. We'll see if it actually shows up or not. But it's something to look for. Again, if you need your 16th F-Series Mobius pickup truck kit. And then in the overseas here, I was going to show you that, but that's a comparison photo. The Aoshima GTRs, the snap tight kits, got delayed into this month. So
really?
we will revisit these quickly, but now they actually have box art. So these are the snap kit car, or the snap car. The 124 scale kits, and they're going to come in 3 different colors, already molded in color. Obviously, the shtick here is that you don't have to paint them, you don't have to glue them. These are the next level up from the 132nd scale snap cars. These would be the lead into the Liberty Walk kits that are already, real shiny plastic, and those are technically glue kits. If I had one more person says it snaps together, I'm going to slap them. But the because some rather famous YouTuber said that, oh, it's a crappy kit, it snaps together. Okay, go ahead, snap it together. Let me know how it holds together. So there's a silver one, there's a white one, and then there's going to be a red one. Again, molded in body color. They do say they're going to have Mylar stickers, but also water slides. So if you are the quote unquote serious modeler, you don't have to use the stickers. I know, talking from a few people, the stickers, at least in the Liberty Walk kits, they use them instead because they ended up being the way they stuck. They gave a little bit of a raised, accent to scripts and stuff like that. So, it is what it is on that.
What color are you buying?
I'm not buying any. I have 2, the Tamiya ones. I don't need a snap type version of this. I will. I don't know if I have the picture for it on here or not. I know I sent it to our discussion group, but I don't think I actually have a picture of it on.
The R35s.
Yeah, the R35. Yeah, could sit here and chitter chatter about that. Yeah, like I said, I have the Tamiya one. That is the Tamiya kit as far as the same car. And I have the Tamiya regular kit, and I have the Tamiya Street Machine or Street Custom, I think is technically what that's called.
I built the Street Custom in red.
And so, I don't see a place necessarily where I need a snap tight version of it, since I haven't built either one of the glue kits. Download this real quick so that it pops up. because some reason, oh, I know why, because this is the July kit folder specifically. So, so they stopped showing that, and then see where this went into this file. There. It's all the way at the end. All the way at the end. So we've talked about it before, in like, oh, Shizuka this and future kits that, but they put out a flyer that actually has it's CAD. It's not an actual image of the kits yet, but it's this the 2022 Nissan GTR Nismo. They say special edition. When they say special edition, guys, I know that everything says special edition here, but the special edition is the gray one specifically.
Yeah, the color. Yeah.
Yeah, the color. The special edition was only available in that gray. It's a really nice gray. It's just a 2022 car and it exists. You can Google it and see what the real color is. It's called stealth gray in the United States anyway. But it's going to come either in this gray, in the red, or in the white. The non-special edition Nismos were available in gray, in red and white, silver or black. So there's really only 5 colors that they came in, period. It's a model car. You paint whatever the hell color you want to and all that stuff. But if you want to stick to what it is, it only comes in those 3 colors. Only comes in those 5 colors, and the special edition only comes in the gray. Everything you see that's black on that car is carbon fiber in real life. So the hood is carbon fiber, the roof is carbon fiber, the trunk is carbon fiber, wing, the bumpers, the little air vents over the front fenders, the rear bumper, everything is carbon fiber. Again, Mylar stickers and water slide. I'm very interested to see how, if at all, Aoshima deals with all of that carbon fiber. Like, are they going to offer carbon fiber decals for the hood, the roof, and the trunk? Because those are pretty hefty pieces of decal at that point. And you're going, hey, new person who doesn't have to paint or glue this, Shazam, decal
Right.
instead. I'm interested to see the assembly. Go ahead.
Good. We know 3 people who do decals, so
yes,
we could maybe talk somebody into doing a decal sheet for that.
As I say, I'm interested to see if Aoshima makes those pieces separate and just casts them in shiny black. Because again, unless Aoshima suddenly unlocked the Bandai tooling where you can, shoot more than one color on the same sprue, I don't know how you make that black in real life. So, I mean, as a Mylar sticker, that would be, again, a huge sheet of carbon fiber that hood and that stick on. I mean, you better hope that sticks in exactly the right corner the first time, or else. It's a really neat car because this coming out, I did a research into the car. You can actually go onto the Nissan configurator for hey, I'm going to buy a Nissan, and you can configure one of these Nismo R35s. There are exactly 3 options: a hardwired USB cable, carbon fiber floor mats, and wheel locks, and that's it. Otherwise, it comes as you see it, and you'll like it, and you'll pay $221,000 for the privilege. So, 2025 is the last year for the R35, so get it now.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I mean, this is a little earlier, and that's 2022, but there's been no actual physical changes to the car in the last 3 model years. So yeah, that'll be fun. I'm looking forward to that because we mentioned it the last time. Nobody's done a new R35 since 2018, so it's been a while since a new one's been available. I'm happy. Kevin Smith. Hey, Kevin Smith says carbon fiber is just expensive fiberglass. I'm not saying you're wrong, but all right. So let's see.
What color are you buying?
I'm buying the pearl white one. That way, if I want to paint it something else, I can. Or because the gray is really cool. The gray is really cool, but I want the gray to be the actual gray, and not their interpretation of the gray. So
okay,
without knowing how they're going to deal with the carbon fiber, I'm just going white because that gives me the most potential as far as dealing with it.
You're gonna have to scuff the world out of that plastic though to get paint.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I have white versions of all of those Fujimi Next kits, the Snap Day kits, just because if I want to paint them, I can. And they're all supposed to be white pearl, but if you look at them, none of them actually have any kind of pearlescence to them, so they're just white. It's like, White pearl. Sure it is, Fujimi. Sure it is. You're drunk. Go home. Also, over at Aoshima in the month of July, you're going to get the next version of the Liberty Walk Murcielago, or however you want to pronounce that. It has a different front bumper splitter format and a different rear wing. The original one, the rear wing was like a GT3 style, big, tall wing. There's also a ducktail spoiler in it this time. So if you didn't want to do a wing at all, you just want to have the little lip spoiler on the rear deck, you could do that. Otherwise, the kit's unchanged. It is molded in this gold color. I'm interested to see how that is because I'm sure James, you're familiar with the fact that when you do metallic colors, you end up with swirls in the plastic where the mold halves meet. So that's never as good as it's supposed to be, and you're not supposed to paint this. So yeah, I'm interested to see what that looks like. I'm not going to get one. I have the original white one. Another spoiler is not enough to buy a, almost $50.
I don't have any of the Murcielagos. I have the GTR and the Aventador, but I don't have the Murcielago or the Huracan.
Yeah, so I have the white one. So there's another one coming out for anybody who's interested in that. Also this month, allegedly, we'll see if these hold or not, because usually Aoshima ends up being a month late on everything when they do these new tools. So you have the new tool, their version. Speaking of GR86s, their new version of that. This is going to have two releases. The red car is going to have the Advan Racing GT wheels in it. That's going to be the only difference between the two. Down there at the bottom, it's showing like ride height and lowered. Both kits will have that stance option in them already. It does have an engine in it, at least almost all of an engine. This kit, when it came out originally, had a transmission piece on the bottom and then a great big like under tray like the real car has underneath the engine, so it didn't have an oil pan, but the whole top of the engine was there. It was 18-piece engine, so it's pretty detailed engine, much better than the Tamiya kit. You're not going to hear me say that a whole lot, but this in case it's a whole lot better than the Tamiya kit. I still have not seen anything about this that says it's going to be left-hand drive, export spec, which is really disappointing. Maybe that comes at some point in the future, but it's not. Having a Tamiya kit of this, I don't need another JDM version of this. So right now I don't have one on order because I don't see the point in it. I do believe the red one is going to be molded in red and the white one's going to be molded in white. So keep that in mind. Although what that ends up being in real life, we'll see. But if they did a left-hand drive one, I'd pick one up, and that would become my factory stock one. And then I'd put the trans kits I was talking about on the Tamiya one, because the Tamiya one's engine's meh and like it's JDM, and so we can customize it.
Right.
So
yeah, I'll probably pass on it. I have two of those already. I have a BRZ and a GR86, so I doubt it.
Yeah, I said the left-hand drive would be the only thing there that makes me pick one up, because it would be the unique part of that kit.
Right.
Over at Aoshima,
Resin Girls.
Hasegawa, yeah, Resin Girl, all things. So there's two Hasegawa kits from last month that slid into this month. This one is the 117 with this Resin Girl figure in it. The kit's been out before. There's nothing different about the kit. It's just the cool girls, the cool beauty girls. I love this abbreviation on this translation, because like it's the figure of this girl. So because it's apostrophes. I mean, these are interesting. It's an interesting car in general. Like, I have the kit, so obviously I'm not going to get one just for the Resin Girl. She does seem to be extremely happy about the fact you've noticed she has an Isuzu 117, but other than that,
but she's on the wrong side of the car.
Yes, she is. Well, that's right. You're going to open the door for her, you heathen. The other one that's a carryover from last month is the 66 Isuzu Bellet with the new front and rear ends on it. Box art for that, yay. Again, pretty much everything about the front end and the rear end of this car is newly tooled. The wheels are new as well, and I believe the wipers and the mirrors are new, because Hasegawa does that kind of detail, and then we'll do something goofy about the rest of the car. But Hasegawa got an Isuzu license, and we're going to use it. God dang it! So there's that. Going into July kits, you get a reissue of the WRC. It's the 2006 Swedish Rally. For anybody who remembers the episode where we talked about this way back, and I think it was April. This guy driving owns this company, so he gets to rally his own equipment around. So cool. Then they're going to reissue the Evo 3, the Mitsubishi Evo 3. I don't believe there's anything different about this. It's just a refresh. It's been a little while since it's been in the catalog.
It says new.
I know it says new, but it's nothing new about it. And if you notice here, this is all yellow, and then there's this little thing right here that's silver because the kit's molded in silver. So I don't know why we painted it yellow, but it's coming molded in silver, which of colors you could mold something in is pretty inoffensive compared to having it molded in banana yellow. Right. I believe the last time it was released, it was molded in banana yellow, and they must have just pulled the old
photo out.
an old photo or the old build-up out to use for this. You're gonna get a reissue of their R32 GTR in the Unicia Jex livery. This is going to have new mirrors, and with these new mirrors, I believe that gives you every wheel, mirror, year, like 1990 through 1993, spoiler combination that these cars came in. So theoretically, when this kit comes out, you should be able to use any set of decals. You may have to buy more than one in order to get all those pieces, depending on how the trees come, because Hasegawa will give you a lot of extra parts a lot of times, but they don't give you extra wheels very often. So you usually have to buy a kit specifically for the rims. These are a set of SSRs on this car. But if you wanted, but there may be 2-3 sets of mirrors in here because that's how Hasegawa rolls with that stuff. But that's very much a prototype thing.
I was thinking I need to build a drift car R32, and I was going to use the Tamiya kit. But now that I think about it, I think that I'm going to buy one of those Hasegawas because it would be easier to change a race car to a drift car than a stock car to a drift car, if you know what I mean.
That's true. Yeah.
Because all the, roll cage and race seat and all that cool stuff is already in the box. So it looks like I'll buy another one. Just have to find one that's molded in a color that's easily paintable.
David Toops here saying Hasegawa needs to do the Ken and Mary GTR with figures of Ken and Mary from the old Japanese TV shows. You know what? I wouldn't put it past them. Nothing. I say nothing there that's like, oh, I'm telling you the future. No, but I just wouldn't put it past them because resin figure all the things. But I know that the fact that the mirrors and the wheels and all the things is something only I'm interested in. But it's pretty cool. If you look at these kits in the back, like history, Tamiya did a race car version. And then Aoshima and Fujimi both did race car versions. Actually, we'll talk about Fujimi's here in a second, but it's very cool to have all the options. Right. You're going to get a reissue of the 92 CV, the Toyota Group C car. This one is specifically ran in the 1992 24 Hours of Le Mans. This kit, yeah, they erased this box of plastic. This car finished 9th overall and 3rd in its class. So podium car, which I know nobody cares about, but James it's podium car.
It's not. There's no AMA on it.
I will buy it because it's a winning vehicle. This has a whole new body. The front end here was so different with the sort of endurance version of the car that it was just cheaper and easier to make a whole new body. So a whole new body and pretty much everything you could think about with the body, especially the front end here, is new. And, I know that, like, I saw Mr. Brolin is in the chat earlier. I'm sure that he has one of these on order because he's a big Group C nerd like me. He's actually building a 962C right now, speaking of Group C cars. So, that's cool. I'm looking forward to that. This is if you remember in the conversation we had about these kits, they're doing the Mini Cooper Clubman again. I have it here as a Mini Cooper S, but I don't. Was this a Cooper S? I thought it was a Clubman, but at any rate, this is the blackjack version where everything is monochrome black and silver. So new set of decals. It's cool, but not that. I believe this has been out of production for a couple of years. So, like, if you wanted one and you haven't been able to find one, and you want to pay like $80 for one, You get this, I'm sure the decals will come in some other options as well, but the shtick here on this one is the monochrome paint job. Oh no, we're in Fujimi land. Oh god.
Those wheels. Look
Make it stop. All right, folks. So Fujimi is putting out. I'm trying to think. There was something last month. What was it? Was this the race car? Yeah. Well, last month they did this R31 as the Rico liveried R31 race car. So this is going to be the street car version of it. If you know your Fujimi kits from the last several months of watching this, you know that there's basically no difference between these two kits because there's no actual race car parts to the race car. So, yes, once again, we're back here with God's one answer to universal chassis, this thing that's underneath everything. But hey, at least it has the right set of wheels in it this time. You may recall when we did the June kits, there was one with a set of like 3-spoke thrust wheels that had like 4-spoke twist wheels instead. And when they were supposed to be this set of wheels, so this set of wheels exists. It's just not in that other kit. Yeah, I can't say enough bad things about this, so I won't. Just know that there's a Hasegawa kit of this that's may not have these spectacular 90s wheels in it, but it has everything else. And yes, you're right. There's chewing gum down here for that high society ribbed for your pleasure side nonsense going on. So yay.
Steve Courtney nailed it. Those are probe wheels. Yes, they are.
Probe wheels. Yeah, you're right. They do. They very much look like probe wheels. They're going to reissue their Toyota Supra, also in the high society shtick. So you notice here on the side, it looks like the bottom of a whale. And here's your chewing gum over here on the side. The one thing, and it's real hard to do. I don't know if did I download the. No, I didn't. This chassis is the same chassis that's underneath that Nissan. The guys over at Plastic Model Mojo, Dave builds 1/72nd scale airplanes, and he calls it God's one true scale. So that's my reference point there. This is Fujimi's God's answer to one true chassis, because I don't believe that I'd have to sit them down side by side because obviously I've got a Hasegawa.
You have them.
Yeah, I say to see how close the wheelbases are, because I don't believe they're close enough for there to be one universal chassis underneath of it. That makes the bodies, that's why a lot of people have mentioned in the past, like the E30 BMW, the one that I have 12 of right here. The Fujimi kit is really wonky proportion because that same chassis is underneath a 4-door Mercedes, and that's obviously a 2-door BMW. It's also the same chassis that we're looking at here. It's actually, yes, that's right. All one chassis to roll
They're
them
not
up.
the same size. No,
they're not the same size, and that's why that BMW that Fujimi makes is so weirdly proportioned. And like this chassis is underneath. It's underneath this Nissan that they're showing right here that shows the high society chewing gum stuff, but it's also underneath this 2-door Supra. Like these cars are not the same length. They're not the same wheelbase. They don't even have the same number of doors, but we're on the same chassis. That it does have left-hand drive for whatever that's worth. Which isn't the price of this kit, obviously. I guess you could buy the left-hand drive dash and throw it into the Hasegawa kit if you so desire, because the Hasegawa kit doesn't have, still doesn't have an export version. But holy mother!
Then again, James, that kit's going to be like $12 on the shelf in Japan.
Yeah, it's true. It's going to be cheap. This is a kit that I think they would get more mileage out of if they threw one of those new chassis under that they've been doing, where you can stance it and pose it and all that stuff. Because this car is in the Mountain Pass Racing series as well, so you could have done that. It's just just bury this. I would like to go to Shizuoka, find this mold and break it so they can just never use it underneath anything ever again. Just because like the rest of the kit's not terribly bad. It's just that this, I don't understand the use of that. Anyway, moving on. Reissue of the MR2, and this box art, looks pretty nice, right? I think like a black and red accented interior here, and you've got all this over fendered goodness, and you think to yourself, well, hey, that looks pretty good. Yes, I will admit it's pretty sporty looking. However, the thing to remember with this MR2 is that this MR2, everything is separate. So all of that body paneling is separate. So it looks really
And you,
cool, but I pity the fool, so to speak, who then tries to put it onto just a regular factory stock MR2 body. And there's nothing wrong with this. Kit was tooled in like the late 80s, early 90s, so it's fairly decent. But yeah, getting all this to get on to here and not have gaps, and spending 2 months with putty trying to make it all, and then that over the over the roof spoiler, or intake rather, is in two pieces. It does have the right wheels in it, so there's that. You do have the old rivets in the to nail the front wheels in with. So yeah, it's a little lacking because it's that era. You get the top of the engine, and it does have left-hand drive over here. And you think to yourself, well, that doesn't look too bad and too terrible. And if you really, really remember your kits, you look at this and you think to yourself, that looks kind of familiar. You'd be right. For anybody who remembers I think this is the late 1980s, Road and Track, Hot Rod, Motor Trend, they had that deal with Peterson Publishing at the time. And you'll say that's not that. Well, I will encourage you to look at this bumper right here, because yes, that is that they just didn't put this bumper on the Fujimi box art. But yeah, this kit is what you got in all of the Revell Mr. 2s that were produced. So if you've ever sat around and thought to yourself, man, I really wish I had one of those Revell MR2s, those were cool looking cars, and they're too expensive now because it's a kit that existed in 1988 or whatever, go buy the Fujimi kit, because that's what you would have got anyway. So yeah, it's a different set of wheels in this. I think it's the sort of like BBS looking wheels on this box art.
yeah.
Yeah, it's the same kit. That's back in the old days of mold swaps, or not swaps, because they didn't really swap the molds, but mold sharing. Yeah, back when Revell made a bunch of kits that Tamiya then reboxed, and Tamiya Italeri reboxed Tamiya kits, and the wild west of modeling. But yeah, because I've looked at this, not necessarily this one, but the other, because they did a factory stock MR2, and like, that would have to be a better kit than the Fujimi kit. No, no, it wouldn't, because it's the same dang thing. Also, Fujimi, they're going to reissue their I think it's the early 90s Toyota Crown Majesta, which the Crown Majesta is the bigger version of a Toyota Crown. It's like the level right underneath the Toyota Century. Like in the hierarchy of Toyota full-size cars, this would have been the car that you would have owned if you were very wealthy, but still drove yourself to work. you didn't get the Century thing where you just rode in the back seat. This is a pretty decent kit in the sense that it's like 90s era Fujimi tooling. It has that goofy nonsense where the seats are molded into the floor, the bottom of the front seats. This is a Fujimi thing of that era. So many of their kits have that weirdness to it. But I mean, overall, I mean, it's pretty nicely molded. Like the engine and the front of the exhaust are here, but like the rest of it's separate. And it does come with the factory stock wheels as well as the BBS wheels that are on the box art. You have to be into your Toyota sedans, I realize, to care about this, but I actually have an original one that I tracked down on Bai because I needed it for my Toyota collection. But yeah, this is if you like your mundane Japanese sedans, this is cool to have back, because it hasn't been released since 2004, so it's been 20 years since this has been out. James will pass, I'm sure.
You must have really wanted that Toyota Crown.
I think I only paid like $15 for it, like, which is probably what this will cost in Japan again. But like,
right.
From buying it by EU, you have all the shipping and charges and stuff like that ends up making it $40. But for this being, again, a kit that was produced, I think this was released originally in 93, was reboxed in 94. I have the rebox, it's called like the I-Force or something like that, where it actually has these BBS wheels in it. That was the last time. It hadn't been produced since the 1990s. So if you wanted one, you had to do a little wiggling. So that's kind of cool. I do appreciate anytime you get one of these old kits that haven't been around for a while, although the subject matter may not ding everyone's bell. I understand. Then this one shrunk. So this is a STP GTR 1993. This is the race car version of the R32, has the new chassis underneath of it. These are not the worst kits in the world. They actually have like a racing interior, and they have roll cages and a racing seat and stuff like that. They're just not as good as the Hasegawa one. And
It's
I
got a
will
it's got a butter dish interior, right?
yeah, it's
A
like
bowl.
the Tamiya kit. The Tamiya's racing GTR has a butter dish interior in it too. That's the time, right? The Hasegawa, excuse me, the Tamiya R32, this one, they were tooled up in 1992 or 91 or so,
Right.
which just would have been an artifact of the time. And it is what it is. I will just say that if you're thinking, okay, I could go for one of those, I would just encourage you and remind you that you don't have to do that to yourself. That's just not a thing you need to do, because Hasegawa already made that kit. So
Right.
just go buy that
And
one.
it's much better. Yeah.
Just go buy that one, because it'll have the right set of wheels in it. I'm not sure what set of wheels you're going to get with that Fujimi kit, because they only ever made one set, and I don't think it's the right set of wheels for that car. This was a race winning car, so yay. I'm not sure what I was talking about, but Steve Courtney says I'll give you $20 for something, which sounds reasonable.
No, the crown.
Yeah. At this point, I turn a profit on it. So yeah. So if you wanted to know what that car looks like, this is what it looks like as far as the livery goes. It's the old Advan black and red livery. So yeah, it's again, buy the Hasegawa kit. It already exists. Spare yourself the horrors there. Let's see, where are we at? We got one more thing. That would be, and this is like almost, I could have just talked about this, not shown a picture, but I have the picture, so you're going to look at it. Another reissue of their 2018 Suzuki Jimny. This time it's molded in yellow and black. So yeah, that's
the one I really wanted, but it didn't have it on the shelf, so I bought the jungle green one.
I don't believe the kinetic yellow one was out yet, so yeah. So that's, there you go, gentlemen. Ladies, if there happen to be any.
The story, when I went to the Japanese hobby shop, they had a blue one and a green one and one other color, and the prices went up as the colors changed. So I was looking at it, I was like, and they were like 4,400 yen for the cheapest one, the green one. I'm like, so do I really want to pay an extra $4 for blue, or another $8 for white? I'll just go with the green.
Hi, Mahler's question: what kit has the old 80s style white spoke wagon wheel rims? I'm needing a set. Guys, can we help this guy out? I don't know if there's because like that one set of Aoshima wheels, like the Daytona set, they look like the old NASCAR rims a little bit. Like that's kind of sort of like that, but not what you're asking for. I mean, I'm sure some set of it must have existed in the days where MPC and AMT took everything and turned it into a race car or a cafe racer or an IMSA car at one point, but I don't necessarily think of anything off the top of my head that has those wheels in them.
I don't know.
And so looking through the Tim saying, doesn't Tamiya already have a nice kit of the GTR? They do. Now, if you're thinking, Tim, of like the current GTR, they do, but it was like the original GTR, the 2008. The car has gone through a couple of, the body silhouette's still the same, but it's gone through some front and back fascia changes. Steve Courtney saying that the deserter truck he thinks has those wheels in them, so go with that.
Yeah, I think maybe.
And our guest from last episode, Mr. Mike, saying the MPC4 Bronco has a set, and I think he's pretty sure you are right about that, Mike. That is on the box. Those are on the box art, and then a bunch of different comments here coming in on that. So yeah. So we'll break your wallet, right, this month?
Right. No.
Try to think. I do want the Charger. I have the Bellet on order because that was supposed to come out last month. And then yeah, I think it's another race car month for me. I'll get that rally car, the GTR, the Group C car, and that'll probably be it out of that combination.
I don't think I'm going to buy anything this month.
I'd get a C8 Corvette if it actually shows up in July. I know there's that new Revell kit's got to be getting pretty dang close. I've not seen a release date on it, but when I talked to Ed at NNL, he said midsummer, and we're getting close to the middle of summer, so I'm intrigued.
I think it'll be late August.
Yeah, more than likely. I'm saying
It's not like you got nothing to build.
No, you know what? I'm just at wit's end here with like one model kit and nothing to do. I thought I was sitting here the other day thinking to myself, I've got to get some of the stuff on eBay, just because I know that the place I've been selling online is not going to give me the price that I want on some of the stuff. It's too, like we talked about with Frank. It's too niche subject for that group. But somebody on eBay will be like, "Holy, I've been searching for that forever." So it's that's what I need to do is find some of those people.
Like a modeler's resin K car, right?
If I didn't have a second one, you'd still be looking.
I know.
So looking at look, what were you gonna say?
William says, I just heard that the C8 will be out in September.
Well, I mean, I hope to get. Revell is supposed to be have a exhibition exhibitors. There we go, an exhibitors booth at IPMS Nats. So I hope to sometime over that 4-day period pin Ed down and see if I can, get an actual release date out of him, because he ought to know by now. Because the boxes were done at NL East. The kits look like they're done. It's just got to be a matter of producing, getting the decals printed, getting the instructions printed, and putting it all in a box and getting it shipped at this point.
Right. I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to buy the convertible.
I'm gonna say I'll get the hard top because it's not all of them are Targa, so you're getting a convertible one way or the other, and that just how much the convertible. So I'm looking through Mr. Sean's AI questions that he has here, and this is a good one because we've never really pinned either one of us down and did our whole life story. But the first question was on this list is, what inspired you to start building model cars? So, James, like I said, we've never done this for us, and you're the unique one amongst a lot of us where you did not start building model cars when you were 9 years old. So,
no.
What in the world, when you were in your 20s, just shook you to your core and said, I need to have a really expensive hobby with little tiny cars?
I was out Christmas shopping for my daughter. And so if I was 26, 27 years old, she would have been 7 or 8 years old then at that time. So we were out Christmas shopping and we were at Toys R Us, and I saw the monogram 69 GTO, and its orange glory there on the shelf. And I said, I wonder what that's like to build a model car. And so I bought a model car, a tube of glue, and some Testors Chisholm Pearl paint rattle can. And that started the whole thing. I ruined it. I ruined that kit, and I never built one another since then. But yeah, I was hooked after that. I think the next thing I bought was the 3-in-1 '68 Roadrunner 67 Ford Galaxy, or what is that? Fairlane? The 3-in-1 kit in the '69 Barracuda.
Yeah.
Yeah, I bought that next. started those. Yeah, and then, seems like I went crazy and just bought kits and kits and kits. Yeah, good time. So that would have been about 95.
Trying to get my one. If I figure if we ask this question to me, I need to have a piece of information in the background there. But yeah, that's intriguing. That I was going to say that kit's just been reissued. We need to get you one so that you can revisit the first kit that you ever built. I know how much you enjoy those 1980s monogram kits where the battery melts down the front of the firewall and all that. For me, my father, his brothers, all built models. Well, apparently, a lot as a kid. From talking to them, they actually they have the quasi Frank story because apparently there was an entire collection. Because my one uncle who lives in Maryland now, he's very much into Lionel trains. I don't know if I've ever told the story online before, but I think you've heard it before, where he built a house specifically to be over top of a basement big enough for his train layout. That was the prerequisite of that house was it had to have a certain size basement underneath of it, and the house on top was like whatever his wife wanted. He just wanted his basement for his layout. That basement is the width and length of 2 regulation bowling alley lanes, like wide and
Good
long.
lord.
So it's a huge house, and then there's like the mechanical side of the basement on the other side of the room. But they had like a huge collection of like 1960s kits, and at some point their parents got rid of them. It was in their house, and they wanted the space back, and they just garbage binned them or got rid of them at some point. And as we sit in this point, like, you realize how much money those would be worth right now. He built models a little bit when I was a kid. Like there were odds and ends here and there, and so he got me into building. I remember the one kit we worked on when I was a kid was like one of the early to mid 1980s MPC Pontiac. I don't know if it was technically a Trans Am or a Firebird. I mean, I know it's a Firebird Trans Am, but I can't remember which way that MPC boxed out for licensing. And I don't remember how we painted that, or because he didn't have an airbrush, he didn't have any of that stuff, so it must have been rattle can. But I mean, it was painted, and it was halfway decent from my memories of it. Maybe it's just clouded childhood memories, but we did that, and then somewhere along the lines, I decided that was a good idea for me too, and so my parents started buying me snap tight kits, age appropriate stuff at the time, and then this was I will always frequently recall this kit because of what I just again disaster I made of it. I don't think this is an age thing. I think it's the first model kit's going to be a bomb no matter what you do with it. This was my first solo glue kit, the 85 monogram Pontiac Trans Am. I remember buying, because I live in my grandparents' house to this day. They took me to the Kmart that we used to have over here, bought me this kit, and then I got a tube of glue. I got the tester's gloss coat in the bottle, if you remember that. The enamel stuff that came in a bigger bottle than the paint, and then I didn't paint the body because it was already black, but I wanted to make it look like the box art. But I got tester's gloss yellow for everything that's gold on there. And so the thing looked like it had been dipped in like maple syrup because I just brush painted the clear coat on the body, and then I painted the wheels yellow over the chrome. I'm 8 years old. Like I have no idea what I'm doing. I do actually own this kit to rebuild. I don't know how well, because this like I'm in the wrong screen. This like top part here is a decal. It just not, the 80s epitome. Let's do like a faded strobe stripe right on the real car.
Right. Yeah, gradient, right.
Yeah. So like this, I'm not sure how well these decals will stand up over the course of time. And like, I think this is actually a great truth in advertising box. Like, these wheels are not like in here correctly. Like they're sticking out too far. I feel like this is tripoding. Like the other side of this car must look like crap. Just the way, like, this is not a what AMT was famous for, where it was a photo retouched image of the actual model. This is the actual model, and no shade on whoever built it. It's just this is way too close a picture. This is a 3-footer model in a 3-inch profile. But yeah, that was my first kit, and then somewhere along the way, I've decided, hey, you know what? This is a hoot nanny, and I just started. I was not much of a collector as a kid, because I think as a kid, most of us did the thing where we just built the thing. Like I could look back at my childhood and be like, oh, the number of things I twisted off sprues. Like I didn't have, I was a child. You're not gonna trust me with a scalpel blade, right? So like you just twisted stuff off sprues, and I will honestly say, because I can look at some of the few remaining kits that I have that I built when I was in my juniors era of life before I was 18, that I didn't even know what a mold line was. Like you can look. I have these. Being a junior, you're going to give people trophies because, like, hey, the kids are in the hobby thing. But like, I look at some of those things, and I was so proud of as a kid, and I'm like, there's mold lines on not just seams, but like the mold lines are on the body and stuff like that. And like nothing is sanded. Everything has the seam lines and everything else like that. Like never even occurred to me. Like, oh, well, they must be there for a reason, kind of thing. My mom and dad, for my birthday somewhere along the way when I was still in middle school, bought me a Pash H airbrush single action gravity or a suction feed, right? And I painted. I started building, and I'm sure they loved this. I mean, my mom and dad kept them, but I'm sure they thought this was fantastic. I started building the model kits for Christmas. Like that was my present to them. And I remember I built my mom a 69 Cougar, painted yellow. Yellow was her favorite color. And I painted it yellow by taking a pot of Tester's enamel paint and just pouring it into the bigger siphon jar that the Pash H had, and then not cleaning it because whatever. I'm a child. I have no idea what I'm doing. Frank somewhere is in his basement. In his basement after that hour-long airbrush cleaning video, just got smacked in the back of the head. But I have the receipt still in the box with all of the airbrush that says something like airbrush plug full of yellow paint needs to be cleaned after use every time. Because I didn't know why it didn't work the next time I used it. Like it wasn't shooting anything. Oh, it must be broken. And they took it back to the hobby shop to have it serviced. And that was the thing that the hobby shop came up with, was like, yeah, your moron 12-year-old gunked it full of enamel yellow paint and then didn't clean it up afterwards. Because like, as a kid, you don't know anything about cleaning anything. It's just toxic chemicals that you're not allowed to use, and or you poured water through it, I guess. And enamel paint and water, that's not how you clean that up. So
gasoline.
And, yeah.
That's what
yeah. And then middle school, high school time, I conned my mom because my mom was convinced, God rest her soul, that the way to get me to do better in school was bribery, right? So pay me for my grades. A lot of people do that. I mean, we buy, when we get the final report cards of the years, we'll go out and buy our kids stuff for doing good in school too. I think everybody does that some form or fashion. And I got her into a scheme where every A, and we did 9 weeks back in my school, so it was 4 report cards a year. Every 9 weeks, every A equaled a model kit. And that's really where my stash came from, because I wanted model kits. They were free at that point, right? Because I wasn't paying for them out of my allowance. And so as an 18-year-old kid, when I moved out of my parents' house, I had like 100 model kits because, hey, I did really good in school after that. I still have some. I've gotten rid of most of them because they're, roasty, toasty 90s kits that the decals were shot on, or I had partially started or stuff like that. But I still have a few laying around here that have been with me since I was a kid. I don't know if that's what, say. I think a long form answer there is my dad inspired me to build model kits, but yeah, that's my backstory.
Very cool.
What's our comment section here? There you go. speak of the devil, and ye shall find him. I guess. It's saying here, it's in the crowd saying like enamel and a patch H bad stuff. Yeah, as a kid, the whole like because patch H has a big, it must be a good lord, it must be like a quart jar, or maybe not quite a quart, like a pint. Well, that's even worse. It's a jar that's bigger than a 30 ml jar of Tamiya paint. I know that because a whole jar of Tamiya paint will fit in it, but it's a giant jar, and then it had like a little paint cup that didn't fit underneath it, fit off sort of offset to the side, like as like a Y, and like that was never enough paint to actually paint something. So unless you're going to do small detail painting, which I wasn't going to do, I was 11 years old. I was going to brush paint everything other than the body. So like I'm not going to sit here and keep refilling it. I didn't thin a thing. Like I didn't thin a single drop of paint. I didn't like the amount of stuff I know not to do now that I like to go back and just be like, psst, no. It's epic. All right, okay. So next question on this list is, how do you approach the balance between accuracy and creativity in your models?
Easy. I don't do
all right, good night, folks.
Things. I don't do creative things. I just find a picture of what I want to build and I build it. I have no imagination at all. Sorry.
I can't. I guess we're the same person there. People that I say like Tim, since he's in the comment here, great example. Like that level of 3-dimensional thinking, where I could take a bunch of just random objects and turn it into something, doesn't exist in my head. Like I do not possess that skill. I will freely admit to not possessing that skill. It's just something that, like, for the life of me, that it doesn't exist. People who could just like look at a box of like one of those bins of parts at a model show and be like, oh yeah, I need one of these, 10 of these, 2 of these, and haha, I built this awesome thing on the other end. Like that's not a thing that exists in my mind. I'm thoroughly guilty of building not only box stock but box art, because it'll be like, oh, I like that color. Yeah, we'll just paint it that way. That's good. That
looks good in red.
Because let's say, look, this instruction sheet tells me what color to paint the outside and then what color to paint the inside to match it. Like, why differentiate? Like, I don't have to do any kind of research.
Why argue with Mr. Tamiya? He knows best.
Exactly. Which, later in life I realized is great, because like the Audi, the BMX Audi Quattro, the A4, the instruction sheet on that would have you paint everything in the first 2 steps semi-gloss black, including the exhaust and the bottom of the engine. And like they goofed up and didn't put the right paint call outs, but like,
it's like every Rebel kit.
I don't need reference photos. I'm not that creative. I'll just paint it the way it tells me to. That's not right. I don't care. It's how it says. Mr. Tamiya told me that was supposed to be silver.
Every Rebel kit, every piece on the whole chassis is flat black or semi-gloss black.
Yeah, I see. Like, to me, I that's one of those things that I can't get into, is the overspray thing. Like, no. It's sort of a combination of 2 things. A, we live in the Northeast. All of our cars would have been undercoated, so they would have been flat black over the whole thing, because they would have been dealer prepped with like what is that, Zybart or Zbart or whatever that stuff was called.
Right.
And then like so many of the things, and I was just talking to somebody online about this today, in the scale model critique group. Like, so much of what we look at as reference photos are like restored cars. Like the overspray now is like over restored overspray. That overspray didn't exist that way either. Like, it's not that prominent. He was trying to chrome the top of an air cleaner on a 70 Mustang, and was having various difficulties trying to sand the primer smooth enough to get a black base coat smooth enough to like spray chrome paint over top of it, kind of thing. It's like there's so many indentations in it because the 69 is like at that pie wedge sort of, or 70 has that pie wedge sort of top of the, like, how do you sand in these tiny creases to get it that way? I said, well, am I being too picky? I said, well, A, yeah, you're being too picky. B, like most of those were bought or were Ford engine blue. Like getting that top chromed was an extra cost option, so like that doesn't exist on every car. And then the third part is like those were like really cheap stamped tin metal things that were chromed on one side really quickly for production. Like if you see one of those things now, and I don't know if I still have it on my computer or not, but like those things don't, they're all just corroded pitted nonsense at this point. Like they
Right.
don't, they weren't meant to last 40 plus years. I said you're looking at like restored engines that have these 2024 powder coated engines and vacuum chrome plated pieces that didn't exist in real life. That was not that nice when it came off the floor. A Boss Mustang was a top of the line Mustang, but at the same time it was still going down a production line with every other Mustang being made at the time, and it was being slapped together by some union guys who just wanted to go home. Like it wasn't, they didn't hand build those cars or something. It's not a Mercedes
Right.
or anything.
There's a discussion in the comments right now about airbrushes. How many airbrushes do you have, James?
Sorry, I'm going to put Frank's up here. He has Pass H. He uses it to frighten children. I still have the Pass H, and then I have a Badger Extreme with the X in the spelling, 105, which is like a powder version of the Badger 105, which is just sort of their workhorse 0.3 needle airbrush. And then I have a Sotar 2020, which is their fine line detail airbrush that I think has a 0.15 needle in it.
Ooh.
Frank was in the group that I'm in where we got to order them when they came out, and they're engraved. I mean, it's janky engraving, but they're engraved with the group's initials on it. And we were offered a deal by the guy who was buying them at the time in like a bulk order for his hobby shop, that if we bought them and got them engraved, we got them with 3 needle nozzle sets. So I think even though it's a very small like detail airbrush, I have a 0.15, a 0.25, and a 0.35 needle nozzle set for that. It can swap out any of those 3 because it'll hold any Badger needle nozzle set for that set. But I've got the small one in there. I do use it from time to time on real fine line painting, like I'm doing the actual like mask off the windows and paint the window black off, because it's just a little bit of paint and it cleans up like a regular Badger airbrush. And then I have the 2 Mr. Procon boy, the trigger styles that I've shown before, the 0.5 trigger and the 0.35 trigger, which I remember mentioning it in the past about doing that airbrushing seminar at NATS. I am going to do that because Grex is doing one with their trigger style airbrushes. So when I come back here, I'm going to be all confident in my use of trigger style airbrushes to sit around and not actually do anything with it. But at least I'll pay the $100 to learn how to use it.
I have 2 masters. One I keep a 0.35 in, and I have another one that I keep a 0.2 in. And I used the 0.35 a lot, and I just pulled the 0.2 out and started playing with it, and I'm actually liking it a lot because it's atomizing the paint to a super fine mist, and I'm liking it because I like thin coats. So yeah, I think I might use that for a little while, and I'll get tired of it, and I'll go back to the trigger one.
The 105 Extreme, like I said, it's like powder coated, so it's like this bronzish color compared to like the silver, that a normal airbrush would be. It's a smaller, and it's integrated into the airbrush, so you can't take this off here. But it's got the paint cup on here is, I think, 3/4 of the size of the regular 105. So, since I'm not painting bodies with it, I haven't found a point where I'm like, oh, that paint cup's too small for what I'm using it for. And then I don't know if it says in here or not, Frank, because Frank was just saying, I think, what the airbrush sizes were. Because, like, We still have the airbrush needles are in the tube they shipped in, but the Sotar 2020 is this real small. Oops, where am I at?
Holy wow, that's tiny. Yeah,
it's a real small paint cup, and like I said, it's same principles as any other Badger airbrush, but it's like I said, it's a detail fine line brush. And somewhere in here, it doesn't fit in here with it. Say, I have a quick disconnect for it because I'm looking at it going, look, where's the bottom of my airbrush? All my airbrushes have quick disconnects on there, but with this, the box that it fits in, it would dig up the foam on it. But yeah, I can't remember what it doesn't say on here anywhere. But yeah, I'm pretty sure you're right, Frank. They were. Yeah, you're right too. They say this has a high roll trigger in it. The regular trigger is like a slightly lower, top to bottom height, but say it's I don't know if it's going to show up or not. Probably not.
Yeah.
It says SMCG on there. That's our for the Scale Motor Critique Group. I can't remember what we paid for them. It was I think slightly more than what the Sotar cost on the street, but it was less than it would cost to get all the needle nozzle sets with it. So it ended up being a deal, right? It's girl math. I didn't pay as much for it as I could, and then I have the two trigger styles with big paint cups in them, and then the 0.5 one has a huge paint cup in it.
What size needles do those Pro Cons have in them?
This one, the smaller one, has a 0.35, and then the bigger one has a 0.5.
Okay.
So theoretically speaking, this will be my 2K airbrush when I get around to it.
I don't think that I've ever had a really
but I know that you're
airbrush. A good quality airbrush. I've always had kind of cheap budget ones, and I mean I do all right, but I don't know that I would airbrush that much better if I had a harder steam back Eclipse airbrush. I don't know that I would do any better. What do you guys say? Do I need to buy a super duper expensive airbrush?
Aha, see, still have my passage.
Look at that box. I'm surprised you still have the box.
This was $63.95 at Trumbull Cameron Hobby, and I don't know what year this would have been. But then, so you have your regular. Oops, almost reloaded the site. I think I would kick us off the air, but you have the regular airbrush, and then you had this. If I can get it out of here. Yeah, this paint cup thing, and it fits on here into like this hole on the bottom, so it's never quite like it's offset to the the line. And I understand that the concept was since it's offset to the center line, you can see what you're brushing, right? You don't have the paint cup in the way up here, but it's also on like a jaunty angle, right? Like this is level, and you can still see inside the paint cup. So you're constantly on the verge of pouring everything out the front of it. Like if you tip this way, up there goes everything that that your paint goes into, and then it comes with this size.
What did I do?
Yeah, peace pipe. Yeah. So you have like this size jar, which is like this is like a 30 mil jar, right? So you could fit like all on much paint as you could need. But wait, folks, there's more. This also came with, and I don't know what exactly you were doing with this because it's so, if you filled this up, it would be so heavy. It comes with this big ass paint jar that you could just like, yeah. It's like if you fill this full of paint, it would I don't think it would stay on here. It would just pull off, and B, it would be so heavy.
I don't know what,
and I don't know how you attach the air line to it either, because it would be
I'm so stingy with my paint anyways. I could paint 15 cars with that.
And then it comes with like I have two still packed in the packaging needle nozzle sets. I think these were like a 0.5 and a point maybe 2. I think I'm not sure. I don't even know what needle nozzle size is in there. That this be impossible. I don't know if it'll say on here or not. It's just H to 3 sizes, but it doesn't say what sizes they are, and I don't actually have the instruction sheet anymore. And then they came with this thing, which is like has 2 holes in it. You were meant to like bolt it to something, and then that was your airbrush rest. You know? And it comes with like an extra jar too, because like if you wanted to mix two jars of paint. No, there's no lid for this, by the way, but you could have. And there's still to this day, and it's not going to show up on camera, but there's still to this day some yellow paint. There it goes. Still some yellow paint on the side of that from where I gummed it all up. And people will sit there and go like, "Oh, well, like a single action like siphon feed. It's a good airbrush." You have to understand like that twisting this nozzle thing created an aperture that the paint came through, and then you were siphoning paint up to the tip, and then you were blowing air across the top of it. It's really much like those janky plastic ones that attach to the can of propellant in that sense, like the old plastic testers brushes. Like it works, especially if you're volume painting something, but like you don't have any control over the size of this. Like you can kind of sort of like twist this open very slowly, but since it's a single action, it's just on and off, right? You press paint and shit comes out of it. There's no air first and then paint. Like there's a reason why people have double action airbrushes, and that's one of the reasons. It's just the way that works. And I don't know where the receipt is. I don't have time to dig for it. We'll be here just dead silence. So you trying to keep people entertained. But yeah, it was $40. They charged my mom to clean the thing out of that and tell her that your son's a moron and he doesn't know how to use his airbrush. So Andrew saying here that he has the most beautiful harder and Steinbach. It's the most beautiful thing on my shelf where it lives and only gets used to dust off.
Did you freeze on me, James? I think you did. So I'll buy a new airbrush when one of my airbrushes breaks because I'm too cheap to buy another one. But I'll buy a $100 kit, but I won't buy another airbrush.
There we go. I'm back.
A lot of people talk
my
about
internet
those
just
swallowtails. A lot of people talk about those swallowtails.
And I know that it's a super popular brush on YouTube because Gallery sent them out to people for free. So, best advertising you can get is people going, "I got this free thing and I'm not going to knock it because I got it for free." Mr. Brolin, I don't know if Mr. Brolin's still in the chat or not at this point, but like he was using one on his 962C, which wasn't the reason he had a paint issue with the model, but now he's using it again to repaint the model, and he said that he's been having nothing but problems with it. So I'm not going to sit here and debate it. I don't have one. I can't speak to whether it's any good or not, and I'm not going to slam a company just on the basis of like, well, this thing happened to my friend. But like, I know too many people that have had issues with them, independent of the reviews. So I mean, again, if it works for you, it works for you. I have absolutely no, but
yeah,
I have 5 airbrushes. I don't need a 6th one.
I think honestly, whatever one you have, and the one that you practice with, and the one that you're used to is the best airbrush. And that's
right.
Just kind of what I use. My junk airbrushes, I pay $60 for them, and I use them until they break, and then I go buy another one.
I think that if we got you in a certain circle of people and you told them that you used a master airbrush, they'd be horrified. Because how could you use such a cheap airbrush? But I mean, if it works for you, it works for you. I mean, that really ends up being a key thing with airbrushes, in the sense that yeah, you probably get a better quality airbrush the more money you spend. That's true with almost anything in life. The more you spend, the better it is. To a certain extent, there's certainly things that cost too much that are not worth it. But I don't know that there really comes down to like Harder and Steenbeck versus Iwata, because they're gonna be your two like high price. Grex would be another like high priced airbrush. Like I don't know that if you got the three of them and sat them down and did an honest comparison with them, that you'd notice enough of a difference between them to care.
Right.
You know, it would become a which one felt the best in your hand, weight wise, balance wise, and I have my
Right.
Badgers. I use my Badgers primarily. I will admit to this point day, I other than like water, I haven't put anything through the pistol ones because they're easy to clean. I like how the weight distribution is on them when I'm using them. It doesn't make my hand tired. And being that they're made in the United States, they've got that shtick with them that anytime they break, you throw them in a box and send them back to Badger, and they'll fix them and send them back. I think you get one of those a year, like it's $12, and they'll tune your airbrush up. Now, I've never used it because I've never had to tune my airbrush up yet. I haven't used it enough to need a tune up, but I think it's $12.95, and you send it back to the factory, and they'll replace the O-rings and anything else that's worn out on it and send it back to you. Harder and Steenbeck isn't going to do that. They're in Germany, and they don't give a crap whether or not your airbrush works or not. You paid them $300. Have fun. And Iwata's in Japan, so
Right.
There's still a quite a discussion, quite a lively discussion over there about about it. Tim saying that he draws a line at Chinese self-propelled fingernail guns.
I've seen a lot of those too. The little can on the bottom of an airbrush. Yeah, I don't know. There's something to be said about a compressor that constantly runs, that you're probably going to get moisture through your brush sometime that way, or some pulsing
I can,
action from it running.
yeah, I could see that type of portable airbrush situation coming in handy if you needed to spray paint something outside, like real quick, like you didn't want to be chained to the booth, and you just needed to I go outside this real quick and be done with it. I know Brian uses it like that in his garage, like real
Yeah.
quick. But say because like you said, Frank's agreeing. Anytime you use a tankless compressor, it's just gonna the air is gonna pulse with the piston, and it's very hard to dial that pressure down. Even if you put a regulator on it, you have an issue like where's the pressure going to go? Like you can't regulate the pressure backwards into the compressor. You can
Right.
it's gonna you're gonna blow the regulator out eventually. It's the diaphragm the regulator is gonna go. But yeah, as somebody's saying, nitrogen tank setup is on my to get list. Carbon dioxide is actually the thing that most people use as a CO tank, but again, I would have to I don't know, have an entire life change to the point where I was building model kits in a fashion that I burned my air compressors out so fast I had to chain a tank of CO2 to the wall. Like I understand the principle behind it. There's no moisture, there's no pressure differential, and people have talked about those things last for a year or two, but it's like I
But
don't
the
use
day
it
that you
enough.
run out halfway through your project,
Yeah, you'd have to keep an eye on it. You'd have to have be able to what was I say, be able to have the next one on order so
right,
that it was going to
right.
show up. Next question on here is airbrush or spray cans. I think we know where you stand on that.
I've been airbrushing for so long that I don't think that I could rattle can again. I think I would really screw something up if I tried to. Even primer. Seriously. I haven't rattle canned anything in so long. I think I would screw it up if I tried.
Well, that's a good follow up to that because like we've established I haven't airbrushed a body yet, so I'm still rattle canning bodies, airbrush other stuff. But like, what got you into airbrushing? Like, what random Christmas shopping trip with your daughter got you into that?
I think that I ran out of space with rattle cans. I had so many of them that I was running out of places to put them, and it just seemed more economical to buy a small little bottle of paint and mix some thinner with it, starting of course with the Testors little bottles and putting some mineral spirits in it, stinking up the whole house. But yeah, I think that's probably what it was, is I ran out of space.
Let's see. Well,
Who's
that's
Paul Boyer?
I don't know, Frank. What do you? I think I know what you're talking about, but I'm. Nah.
But I do hear that the Tamiya rattle cans are the best for beginners. They're most forgiving. That's what you use, right? Tamiya rattle can.
Yeah, I do. Like that line of paint that Testors put out right before they sort of shrunk Testors into the paint line that it is now. It was called like Testors. It had the wet look gloss coat, and then it had like those lacquer. Was it extreme lacquers? That's what it was. And those were good paint, but they were all like really highly sparkly. Like they were all metallics, and they were like it was I don't know, it was 12. It wasn't so much bass boat necessarily, but like there's not a lot of things that you're going to be like, oh, hey, I really wish I had a root beer metallic car. Brown metallic came everything, and like everything was a highly pigmented metallic. So there was like lime green, there was an ice blue, dark blue, there was a brown, red, and all the other colors you could think of in a primary color palette. And there was like 14 cans, I think, in that line, not counting the clear coat. And it was good paint. It shot real well. It was one of the very few Testors cans that had like a good nozzle on it for some reason. But it was such a limited paint line. Like, unless you built a lot of custom things, those paint colors didn't, especially with how metallic they were, didn't line up with factory paint or race cars or anything real well. It was really good if you're building a lot of hot rods and stuff like that, but if you're doing anything where the color match mattered, I don't think it really great paint for a 49 Merc or something like that, but not so much for a 65 Dodge.
I think I started airbrushing about a year into building. I found that the people that I admired were airbrushing, and so that's why I kind of picked it up.
Say Carl here with the right answer. One coat lacquers. That's what they were.
Okay.
Which is a misnomer. One coat. I mean, you could in theory put the whole can of paint on in one coat if you kept going, but look at these questions here. It's like the next one was like, what's your favorite type of clear coat? We know that. This is an amusing one only because it's the great adult diaper answer, right? It's like, what's your favorite type of glue and why? Well, it depends, right? Like, what am I gluing together? You did an entire video series on glue here within the last 3 weeks, where I think you pretty much covered your thoughts and feelings on glue. But I don't have a favorite type of glue because everything requires a variation or a different glue to adhere stuff. So this isn't Fujimi. We're not using one glue.
Right. Frank says he was the champion of hosing thinned Testors out of a Pache H at 40 psi from low Earth orbit. Everyone's like listening to him.
considering the fact that Frank paints through a dryer vent, I'm gonna trust him on his judgment on paint texture. But yeah, I do. I do remember Paul was very much a you don't need a tank on your air compressor guy because you could just paint it off the compressor, you know. And I can't think what my foot because I have a tanked compressor. It's literally right behind my head, so I can't put it on camera. And plus, it's also buried in a bunch of junk. But I think the operating pressure on that thing is like 29 to 32 psi, which under most circumstances is too much psi to paint anything. So if I didn't have a regulator on that, you'd just be constantly around 30. And that's and if you don't know how much psi that is, go watch a model car video or any kind of video really, and the person's going, and you can hear the paint hitting the model. That's where that psi is. If it sounds like somebody's spraying a bucket with a hose outside to make just to mix up their car wash, that's too much pressure, and that's what you get when you don't have a tank and a regulator. I can't remember how somebody pretty, and I literally can't remember the name, so it's not a situation like, oh, he's just not saying, but I can't remember who it was, but I saw him clear coating something, and it was like an F1 body, I think, and they were putting this clear coat on with so much pressure, you literally could hear like the spray pattern echoing off like the inside of the cavitation of the body, right? It was literally making a noise, but it would variate a high to low pitch to that noise depending on where he was on the body. And I was like, I don't know what that's spraying at, but holy Moses, it's too much,
I think I used to shoot paint at like 40 psi, through an airbrush, and I think it would actually bounce off the body and then dry.
I'm just gonna spray over here and just move through the cloud of paint. Yeah. I mean, it's basically be painting with a rattle can at that point, because that's probably about the pressure that is. If you do a bad paint job, do you hold a teddy bear to calm yourself? No, I just fixed the bad paint job. If you say there's no question for it, but like one of those like what's the worst mistake you've made on a model kit? I had a AMT. I think I still have one. I don't think I got rid of all of my old AMT kits, but I had an AMT 1962 Bel Air 409, and I can't remember if those wheels come with the kit. I think they do. There's a set of like, I don't know if they're Krager mags or they're just mag wheels that are in that kit. And I stuck a set of those, and they were in every 90s AMT kit, those Gatorback Goodyear tires. They were like in every single sports car that AMT made. And I put those mag wheels, I think they were designed to work with like a set of drag racing rear wheels. So I stuck a set of those Gatorback tires on there, and I won a bunch of awards with this model as a kid, so it ended up coming out nice. But I repainted the hood of that car 7 times, because every single time I painted it, I was getting like a crackle like around the very edge of the hood. Like I don't know what I cleaned it, I sanded it, I stripped it, I did so many. I think spent more time in Dawn than like a drowned duck in oil. I can't, and I don't know why the 8th time was the time that it was the same paint every time, so it wasn't even like a changed paint or anything. But every single time I just got just around the very outside edge of the hood. I don't know what, like I said, don't know what that reaction is from. I never had it before. I haven't had it in the 30 years since. But like, do I cry about a bad paint job? And I know that wasn't a direct shot at me personally, but like, no, I fixed that paint. I wet sanded it and painted it. I stripped it and painted it. I did everything to that thing and painted it. And I don't know why, like I said, the 8th time, literally the 8th time was the time it came out okay. But yeah.
Huh.
We could sit here and have a whole conversation about what airbrush to use and this, that, and the other thing, but painting is a dark art. I mean, Brolin will tell you, he's been building model kits for, as long as I have, and he's a good 10 years older than I am, and he just had to strip a race car because the paint just, went sideways on them, and why? Don't know, but you strip it and start over. There may have been a point in time in my life that I might have like thrown something like that, but that time passed.
I've only crushed one. I was doing a 69 Charger and putting the decal on the tail stripe, and it something, and I had to peel it off, and it came, the base coat came with it, and I got so angry at the moment I crushed it. And yeah, that's the only time I've ever done that. Never again. I'll throw it away before I crush it.
Oh, okay. So Scott's saying he's referencing the teddy bear behind me. My wife got me that for Valentine's Day a couple years ago, and it's a great weight to keep keep the cover on the air booth, and it's the right size to keep the cats out of it. Because if I put that, I have like a sheet over my air booth. Because if I don't put the sheet over it, the cats lay on the filter. And I found that if I don't put stuff on the sheet to hold it down, they'll pick it up and sleep underneath of it. And if I weight it down with like a paint bottle or something, they sleep on top of it instead. And I would appreciate for the times that I actually use it that there not be cat hair all over in and through it. So yeah, the bear for some reason keeps them off of it. I don't know what the bear is about.
The scarecrow. Yeah. That's what it is.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's what that was. That's like I have a sign. I keep meaning to put it up. I got I have a bunch. Your kids give you knickknacks and you keep them. I have a little teeny weeny cat. I don't remember what the series is called, but they sell those like blind eggs that come out of like those old school vending machines that used to be in the front of department stores back when we were kids. And but now they sell them at like GameStop and stuff like that. And my daughter gave me this tiny itty bitty little cat, and it sits on my lamp here because what am I gonna do? Throw it away? Every time she comes down here, she looks for the cat. So that's obviously gonna hang out and say. I would just take my wife's Valentine's Day present, no matter how shtick getting me a teddy bear in my 40s might be, and just be like, oh, okay, shrunk it, throw it in a, yeah, okay. There's a reason some of you were divorced, I guess. Here's a good one, because it's always sort of because we're right here on the last question type of time. Do you have any dream model car projects that you haven't tackled yet? That's always our question to people: is what's your lifetime achievement award build? So, Mr. Tester, is it building all the GSR cars? Is that your lifetime?
No, it's the 74 Roadrunner. Give me a second. I had to pull this off the wall. So,
oh, geez.
So this is a 1974 Roadrunner, silver red stripe, and this car, I kept the ad. It's framed. I had this car at one time, and I'd like to build this car.
Okay, so what do we need to do to build that car?
Well, I have everything. I even started it, but I don't know. It'll never be perfect in my head. So until then, it'll always be right there,
So that is the reason why I have a Mobius ProStar tractor trailer that I wanted to so badly build as the truck I used to drive. Cracked into that thing, and it's like, oh, I know everything that's wrong with this because I drive this. I mean, I don't drive one anymore. This is my over-the-road days years ago, back when that kit first came out. But that was like, no, this is this. I remember that me and Dave Metzner, that's right, who was, I don't know if he still is, the head of product development at Mobius back when it was still owned by the original owner. And he and I went around in circles about the front bumper on that truck, and because he showed they did their CAD based off the prototype of the ProStar, and that front bumper ended up not being one that was used in production. It was sort of a in between. Like there was an early one and the one that they were making at the time, and that prototype bumper sort of was a blend of the two. And we were going around in circles about that for like to the point where he was, I will admit he's being pretty rude about it. And I was like, dude, I drive one of these trucks for a living. Like I can literally take 3 steps outside, take a picture of this bumper and show you what it looks like. Well, International gave us these files. Well, that's fine. I accept that fact because that's what they did, but that's not what the truck actually looks like. And that they did that with that too much, that both the Lone Star and the Pro Star are both like prototype original factory files, but that's not what those trucks ended up looking like in real life in certain aspects. And it's as somebody who like lived in it legitimately, 17 days out of the month, it was like I can't build this because I'd have to fix it, and I don't want to fix it because that's more trouble than it's worth. And I don't know if I should probably just sell them and be done with it, because I drove a couple of Pro Stars. I drove a singular Lone Star at one point, and I don't know if that I'll ever build them, because I would just have to sort of close my eyes and build it. And because like the interior stuff, it's not going to matter, nobody's going to see the interior stuff, but I know it's wrong and I want to fix it the way it really was. But
right.
And then my magnus opus build that we always sit here and talk about is doing the winning cars. Yes, that's right, I said the winning cars, not the ones that look the best. The winning cars from the gear, what was the gear race of Macau is now the Macau GT Cup, because it was a GT3 race now. And I have from, let's see, would be 1983 would have been the first year of Group A through the present day. There's a bunch of like TCR, like touring car racing that doesn't exist in model kits and probably never will. But from 83 through 2012, 2013, because 2013 is when those cruises started racing there. There's a couple years between like 2010 and 2013 that don't exist in model kits either. But I have the decals, the base kits, and with a few exceptions here and there, to like build everything from 1983 through like the mid 2000s, and then from 2013 through present day. I think there's one car in there that I'm missing as well. But yeah, that would be my that in my mind is, and in my mind it shall stay probably, is the like one of those things that I like love to present that as like a collection. Like here is this thing. And the problem with that would be, unless you built that fast enough, I think you would develop your skills along the way too much. Like the stuff that you would build at the end of that run would be better looking than the stuff that you did at the beginning, obviously, and then you just have to go back and rebuild these like first ones. I think that would be a never-ending project. You'd be like, oh no, somewhere along the lines I came up with a better kit of those and better decals, and it would look better if I rebuilt it. And
right.
The thing about like the good small cars is like they're like a functional thing in time. Like no one's ever going to make another Z4 kit like the Fujimi ones from the 2011s. No one's going to make another SLS kit that's going to be any better. Those, when Ben will redo the decals, those will be the best decals for them. And like, it's just that's a fixed thing. But, Group A's kind of popular right now. I don't think anyone would necessarily do it, but somebody may make another 635 at some point, and it would be better than the Tamiya kit, because the Tamiya kit was made in 1984, and it's like, or 1986, 86, got an engine in it. So yeah, that's my thing. I would just, again, I'd love to be able to just be like, wow, look at all of these winning race cars from this obscure race when it comes down to it. It's a one-off at the end of the year kind of thing, but to say, Kevin's been saying never ends. Exactly. It would, because I've seen people do that. They're like, oh, I'm going to build like there's a guy I see online from time to time was building F-14s, and like the Tamiya has done new 148 scale F-14s over the course of the last couple of years, and he wanted to build like every squadron that was based out of the naval base that he was in when he was in the Navy. And he started this project years ago, and it was like, but my new ones are so much better than my old ones from 20 years ago. Now I have to go back to those ones from 20 years ago and rebuild them because, the kits are better, they're more accurate, the decals are better and more accurate. And I think, yeah, that's an interesting problem. Like, do you appreciate the collection for what it is, like an evolution of not only the Navy's F-14, but also your building skills over all that time, or do you go back and try to fix things?
Yeah, hopefully when I build these 17 GSR cars, that my skills will get better over time.
All right, boys and girls, we have hit that magic 2-hour mark. Again, for anybody who wasn't here at the very, very top of the show, we will be taking the next scheduled episode off for the 15th. Sean, again, has his rehearsals for his production of Bye Bye Birdie there in Columbus. I will be on the road to... And again, we don't want to leave poor James over here to just sort of stare off into space and look sad.
Sorry, I can't entertain you for 2 hours.
But we will be back on the 29th with the full crew. I'm gonna sit here. I'm gonna needle Mr. Tester during the off time because we had gotten an email from somebody that we really wanted to get on the show that I had completely missed for the last month. So I want to poke at him to get that taken care of so that we can get him on the show.
You guys
soon.
are gonna like it, yeah.
That'll be sure. As I say, that'll be a major coup in the podcast world. And yeah, we hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and we'll see you guys on the other side.
Peace, guys. Good night.